it comes to the world's most mysterious places, many people will immediately think of the triangle. Mimutra, a sea region notorious for a series of unexplained disappearances. But did you know, in America, there's a place far scarier than that? A place where tens of thousands of people mysteriously vanished without a trace. That is Tamsat in Alaska. From the 1970s to the present, over 20,000 people have gone missing in this area. Equivalent to about 2,250 disappearances per year, averaging more than 6 people vanishing each day. This number is even more horrifying than the darkest crimes of Tamsat and Mimutra. What's really going on here? Is there some hidden force manipulating this area? Is this the result of some mysterious rule? Perhaps it's some dark political conspiracy. Perhaps it was simply the result of a wild and harsh land. Amidst the harsh wilderness, towering rugged mountains stand defiant. The weather is unpredictable and the terrain is treacherous. Let's unravel this terrifying mystery and discover why the name Alaska haunts so many people. A land both breathtakingly beautiful and among the most terrifying in the world. What mysterious secrets lie hidden within America's vast and most terrifying wilderness? Just the name Alaska alone conjures images of a vast, frigid, and mysteriously wild land. But perhaps few people know that the name Alaska originates from the Aleut language. A majestic land. In reality, Alaska is the largest region in the United States, covering an area of up to 665,000 square miles, equivalent to 1/5 of the total area of the United States. Imagine if you placed Alaska on the map of the US, it could stretch from Georgia to California. Not only that, but Alaska also boasts over 12,300 different types of coastal routes. Accounts for over 50% of the total coastline length in the entire United States. Coastline dozen. However, despite its vastness, Alaska remains one of the most desolate regions in the world. Over 365 million acres of land in this state remain untouched, with no human footprint ever set upon them. Here are the two possible translations based on context. This means that less than 1/20th of the state's total area is actually inhabited. Alaska is often called America's last great wilderness. That place remains untouched by human footsteps, its mysteries still perfectly preserved. Alaska is not only vast and boundless but also retains a rare, untouched beauty. If you imagine bustling urban areas and modern highways like in other US states, Alaska is completely different. Most of this state is covered by vast mountain forests, ice and snow, and frigid wilderness, where it is difficult for humans to live long-term. How vast is Alaska? Just imagine, even if you could examine 1 million plots of land each day, it would still take you an entire year to cover this entire state. Yet, what lies hidden within that vast expanse? Could it be nothing more than endless white ice and silent desolation? Is there another mystery and wonder hidden here? Continue your journey of discovery to better understand what makes Alaska uniquely distinctive. That land is where majestic mountain ranges stand timeless, home to a unique ecosystem and harboring countless wonders of nature. The place with the harshest living conditions in the world. Alaska is not only vast in area but also has extremely rugged terrain. This is a land of majestic mountain ranges, eternal glaciers, and vast, untouched steppes. With its diverse yet harsh terrain, Alaska is considered one of the most challenging places to survive in the world. Here, you'll find 17 of the 20 highest mountains in the United States, including Denali, the tallest peak in North America, standing at 6,190 meters. Besides Denali, Alaska has 3 other major mountain ranges: the Brooklyn Range in the north, the Alakuran Range in the center, and the Oreshenren Range extending into the Pacific Ocean. These mountain ranges not only contribute to Alaska's majestic beauty but also act as a natural barrier, making travel and living here extremely difficult. Alaska is not only famous for its majestic mountains but is also known as the Icy Kingdom, home to over 100,000 glaciers. This number accounts for more than half of the world's total glaciers. The majestic glaciers like Mendahan Glacier and Harper Glacier are the very symbols of this land's eternal cold. The total ice-covered area reaches up to 29,000 square units, accounting for approximately 5% of the entire region's ice area. Alaska is not only famous for its majestic mountains and vast white snowscapes, but also boasts an extensive network of rivers and lakes, with over 3 million natural lakes and 12,000 rivers of varying sizes. Rivers like the Yukon and Kutukwin are not only water sources but also play a vital role in transportation and goods shipment. In the extremely cold regions of Alaska, trees can hardly grow. The tundra was sparsely dotted with only a few patches of sedge grass and lichen, creating a desolate and frigid landscape. With such a unique terrain, it's no surprise that Alaska remains one of the most pristine and least touched regions by human hands. But if the rugged terrain was already a great challenge, it was the harsh climate that truly made Alaska one of the most difficult places to live in the world. The cry dissolves into the cold of Alaska. Alaska is not only a land of mountains and ice, but also famous for its extremely harsh climate. Winter here can get as cold as -51 degrees Celsius, so frigid that stepping outside unprotected for just a few minutes will make you freeze instantly. But more frightening is that this cold doesn't just appear in winter, it lingers year-round, turning Alaska into one of the harshest places on Earth for humans to live. Approximately 85% of Alaska's land area is covered by permafrost, a permanently frozen layer of ground. When summer arrives, the surface ice layer partially melts, but beneath it remains a thick, rigid mass of ice. This makes the ground unstable, prone to subsidence, and causes damage to houses and roads. Alaska has very few roads because building and maintaining them is extremely challenging. Winter is not only bitterly cold but also seemingly endless in darkness. In the town of Barrow, the sun begins to set in November and doesn't reappear until late January, plunging the place into continuous night for over 60 days. In contrast to winter, summer lasts unusually long with sunlight shining almost all day, especially in the far northern regions, where the midnight sun phenomenon occurs. Thanks to this, vegetables in Alaska grow incredibly fast, producing cabbages weighing up to 62 kilograms along with pumpkins and radishes of enormous size. Though summer was more pleasant, it didn't last long. Soon the cold returned, bringing blizzards and bitter frost. Hunting, farming, and even daily activities have become extremely difficult. With its harsh climate, temperatures in Alaska can range from -51 degrees Celsius in winter to over 32 degrees Celsius in summer. The weather here is not only bitterly cold but also highly unpredictable, posing dangerous challenges. This is what drives many to leave this place, yet there are also courageous souls who stay, embracing the challenge to survive on that wild and majestic land. But even though it can adapt to harsh climates, Alaska remains a difficult place to live due to its isolation. Despite its vast area, Alaska is one of the least densely populated regions in the world. With a population of about 730,000, this state is even less populated than Rhode Island, the smallest state in the U.S. For comparison, while the average population density of the United States is 98 people per square mile, in Alaska, this figure reaches only 1 person per square mile. This means you can travel dozens, even hundreds of miles without seeing a single soul. However, even among that small number, over 80% of Alaska's population lives in urban areas, primarily concentrated in Anchorage, Fairbanks, and Juneau. The Ruyan-Angus region makes up nearly 40% of the state's total population, while the capital Zula and the city of Fapung each account for about 9% of the population. Beyond these 3 cities, most of Alaska's territory is virtually uninhabited, with only a few small, scattered communities existing amidst the pristine wilderness. It's also one of the most inaccessible regions in the United States. Many towns and villages here dawn. Juneau is the only U.S. state capital inaccessible by car, reachable only by plane or boat. This makes transporting goods and essential supplies difficult, driving the cost of living here significantly higher than in other states. With its sparse population, harsh living conditions, and limited transportation system, Alaska has become one of the most isolated regions in the world. There's no traffic at all. Alaska is not only one of the most sparsely populated regions in the U.S., but it also has virtually no developed road system. While other states have hundreds of thousands of kilometers of highways connecting cities, Alaska only has about 17,000 kilometers of roads. This number is even smaller than some small states like Vermont or New Hampshire. Most cities and towns in Alaska are not connected by a road system. Even Zunay, one of the state's largest cities, is inaccessible by car and can only be reached by plane or boat. Here are the 2 English translation options, maintaining the original meaning but with slightly different emphasis. With its rugged terrain and vast permafrost coverage, constructing and maintaining the road system in Alaska presents significant challenges. The harsh winter frequently causes the roads to freeze over. In summer, the melting permafrost causes the ground to collapse, damaging roads and construction structures. This is why Alaska primarily uses planes, boats, and snowmobiles as means of transportation instead of cars. Due to the limited road system, the aviation industry in Alaska has grown significantly. This area has more airports and runways than anywhere else in the U.S. Hood Siem Reap Bay, the world's largest seaplane airport, is located in the West End area. with over 600 flights taking off and landing each day during peak season. Seaplanes play an essential role in transporting goods, carrying passengers, and delivering necessary supplies to remote areas. Besides air travel, waterways are also an important mode of transportation. The Alaska Marine Highway System, operating a ferry network to connect coastal cities with each other. Many small coastal communities rely entirely on these ferries to transport food, labor, and essential goods. Due to isolation and limited transportation, the cost of living in Alaska is much higher than in other states. The prices of food, raw materials, and construction materials have all risen sharply as most goods are transported by sea or air. A poor quality transportation system not only causes inconvenience in daily life but also poses many potential dangers. When an emergency occurs, rescue and relief efforts become extremely difficult, even more so than at any other time. This also helps explain why many people who disappear in Alaska are never found. Life in Alaska becomes extremely difficult due to isolated transportation conditions. What drove humans to set foot on this land tens of thousands of years ago? Who was the first person to set foot in Alaska? Today, Alaska is one of the least populated regions in the United States, yet humans have lived here for tens of thousands of years. According to archaeologists, Alaska was the starting point for humans migrating from Asia to the Americas. During the last ice age, a vast landmass called the Bering Land Bridge connected Asia and Alaska, facilitating the migration of the first groups of people from the Eurasian continent to the Americas. For many years, it was believed that these people had crossed a barren and frigid land bridge to advance deep into the interior of North America. However, recent studies have proposed a different hypothesis. It is possible that they traveled by sea, following the Pacific coastline, utilizing abundant seafood resources and vast seaweed forests to sustain their livelihood. Archaeological evidence shows that humans appeared in Alaska at least 10,000 years ago. One of the most significant traces is the ancient fish traps discovered along the coast of Alaska. These structures prove that the people of that era not only migrated through Alaska but also settled there long-term, harnessing resources from the sea and glacial rivers. Before Europeans arrived, the land of Alaska was home to approximately 80,000 indigenous people belonging to ethnic groups such as the Inupiat, Yupik, Athabaskan, Aleut, and Tlingit. They developed various methods to adapt to the harsh climate, ranging from hunting and fishing to techniques for preserving food through natural freezing. Each tribe had its own distinct way of life, shaped by the geographical region they inhabited. The Inupiat and Yupik peoples primarily live in the Arctic region of Alaska, surviving by hunting whales, seals, and reindeer. The Athabaskan people lived in the inland regions, where they commonly hunted moose and caribou. The Aleut people primarily inhabit the Aleutian archipelago, where they are skilled sailors and seasoned sea hunters. The Tlingit people of southeastern Alaska primarily sustain themselves through fishing and trade using dugout canoes. They have survived for millennia thanks to their remarkable ability to adapt to their surroundings. But everything changed when the Europeans set foot in Alaska. From a land nearly isolated from the outside world, Alaska quickly became the focal point of disputes among major powers. What did the Europeans do with the land of Alaska? In the 18th century, Europeans first discovered Alaska, marking a pivotal moment in the history of this land. In 1741, Danish explorer Vitus Bering served in the navy of the Russian Empire, led an expedition across the Bering Strait and explored this vast land. After the journey, reports of abundant resources, particularly rare furs, quickly caught the attention of the Russians. Recognizing the significant commercial potential, Russia began establishing settlements and fur trading posts along the Alaskan coast. In 1784, they established the first resettlement area on the island of Koryaz, later expanding to the regions of Nervo and Alcantara. This is Sitka, once the administrative capital of the Russians in Alaska. For nearly a century, the Russian-American company held a monopoly over all resource extraction activities in this region, particularly the highly lucrative trade in beaver pelts, an immensely valuable commodity at the time. However, the arrival of the Russians not only impacted the local economy but also profoundly altered the lives of the indigenous people. The hunting and trading of fur sparked conflicts with indigenous peoples, particularly the Tlim Kid, an ethnic group that fiercely resisted Russian domination through numerous uprisings. During that period, epidemics from Europe such as smallpox and influenza devastated the indigenous population, severely weakening many communities. Although resource exploitation brings enormous profits, due to the remote location and harsh natural conditions, Russia faces significant challenges in maintaining this colony. The settlements did not thrive as expected, while the cost of maintaining control over Alaska continued to escalate. After losing the Crimean War, 1853 to 1856, Russia decided to consider selling Alaska to prevent the territory from falling into British hands, while also recovering part of its budget to fund other military campaigns. In 1867, Russia decided to sell Alaska to the United States for $7.2 million. At the time, many Americans considered this price too high for a cold, barren land that seemed to hold little value. Why is the red soil in Alaska so valuable? Seward. However, over time, Alaska has proven its immense value, not only due to its abundant natural resources but also as one of the most crucial strategic locations in the United States. Alaska has a unique geographical position, being only about 53 miles away from Russia across the Bering Strait, while also being closer to Asia and Europe than any other part of the United States. As a result, it serves as a natural military frontline and plays a pivotal role in the U.S. defense strategy. During World War II, Japan seized the opportunity and invaded the islands of Atto and Kika in the Aleutian Archipelago in 1942. This marked the only U.S. territory ever occupied by a foreign power, forcing the American government to launch a large-scale military campaign to retake the region. As the Cold War began, Alaska continued to play a pivotal role in U.S. defense strategy. Due to its proximity to the Soviet Union, the U.S. established a modern defense system there, complete with air bases, radar networks, and advanced monitoring stations to track all military activities of the adversary. Elmendorf G. Jackson Air Force Base in Antwerp and Clear Radar Station play a pivotal role in North America's defense system. In 1935, General Billy Mitchell, one of America's top military strategists, declared before Congress that whoever holds Alaska will control the entire world. Today, Alaska remains one of the most critical missile defense bases for the U.S., housing ballistic missile intercept systems to protect American territory from threats posed by Russia, China, and North Korea. Alaska holds not only strategic military significance but also makes a major contribution to the economy. Notably, the North Slope region, with its vast reserves of oil and gas, has played a crucial role in securing America's energy supply. Additionally, the waters of Alaska are renowned for their abundant seafood, contributing significantly to America's production of salmon, crab, and various other marine products. After merging with the United States, Alaska retained its wild and pristine state for many years, but then an unexpected event completely transformed that picture. The Klondike Gold Rush in Alaska drew crowds of people flocking in search of their oil-fueled dreams. In 1896, an event forever changed Alaska when gold was discovered in Glontis, an area within Canada's Urquell Territory, right near the border with Alaska. When this news spread, it sparked one of the largest gold rushes in history, drawing tens of thousands of people from all over to flock to the North Sea with hopes of changing their fortunes. At that time, America was still mired in economic depression. The prospect of striking it rich with abundant gold mines drove tens of thousands to leave their homelands behind, enduring all hardships to flock to this frigid land. The gold miners, also known as Glontis, endure a grueling journey to reach the gold mines, primarily located in the Alaska region. The two most popular routes are the White Pass and the Chilcot Pass, both of which are treacherous and fraught with dangers. Graveyard of Horses. Meanwhile, Chilcot Pass was even harsher, with steep slopes blanketed in snow, forcing gold miners to bend their backs under the weight of hundreds of pounds of luggage to cross. The image of a long line of people stretching across the snowy mountain peak, slowly making their way up the steep slope at Chilcot Pass, has become the symbol of the Glontis Gold Rush. Though greed for gold drove them, the reality was brutally harsh. Around 100,000 people set out with hopes of changing their lives, but only 30,000 actually made it to Glontis. Most had to drop out halfway due to exhaustion, illness, or hunger. Those lucky enough to reach the end were met with a harsh reality. Most of the richest gold mines had already been exhausted long ago. Those who came later were left with barren, impoverished lands, and most ended up returning empty-handed after their arduous journey, filled with disappointment. One of the famous figures who participated in the Glontis Gold Rush was Jacques London, who later became a renowned detective novelist. The Call of the Wild. The gold rush not only drew tens of thousands of people flocking to search for gold but also transformed the landscape of many towns in Alaska. Regions like Skowhew, Nome, and Dawson City quickly transformed into bustling trade and logistics hubs, catering to the influx of people rushing to Clayodia. Restaurants and bars sprang up side by side, creating an unprecedented lively atmosphere in this frigid land. But when the gold supply ran out, most of these towns quickly fell into ruin, leaving behind only the desolate remnants of a fleeting boom era. Although most of those who rushed to find gold returned empty-handed, the California gold rush helped lay the foundation for Alaska's development. This event captured America's attention toward that land, triggering a massive wave of migration and the expansion of the transportation system. Despite economic fluctuations and waves of migration, Alaska retains its pristine wilderness with a sparse population. Alaska is not only a pristine land with a frigid climate, but it also ranks among the places most frequently struck by the world's harshest natural disasters. Alaska frequently faces natural disasters such as avalanches, earthquakes, landslides, tsunamis, and glacial floods. These phenomena not only occur continuously but also cause devastating consequences, making life here extremely harsh and fraught with risks. Avalanche, a terrifying and deadly natural disaster. With its rugged mountainous terrain and thick snow cover, Alaska is considered one of the most avalanche-prone areas in the United States. From 1951 to 2023, at least 170 people have died in avalanches. 323 deaths during the same period. It is noteworthy that avalanches often occur suddenly and without warning, especially during strong winds or abrupt changes in terrain. In areas with heavy snow cover, even a small disturbance can trigger a terrifying avalanche, sweeping away everything in its path. Rugged terrain and difficult transportation, rescue teams often take a long time to reach avalanche sites, significantly reducing the victims. Landslides and flooding caused by melting ice have resulted in severe damage. Alaska is not only affected by ice and snow but also faces the risks of landslides and severe floods, especially in summer when the ice melts. Melting ice destabilizes the ground, leading to a series of landslides in mountainous regions. Coastal or undersea landslides can even trigger tsunamis, sweeping away coastal areas in an instant. One of the most dangerous phenomena is the sudden formation of meltwater holes. As the ice melts, water becomes trapped in massive glacial lakes. If the ice wall separating the countries collapses, millions of massive ice blocks could come crashing down into the valleys below at breakneck speed, triggering devastating flash floods. A typical incident occurred on August 6, 2024, when the melting ice lake in the Cogi Basin on the Van Mendenhall River burst, causing the water level of the Mendenhall River to rise by 4.8 meters above normal, resulting in severe damage to the area near Sunnow Town. Since 2011, the number of glacial melt events has significantly increased due to the effects of climate change. An earthquake is a sudden shaking of the Earth's crust, usually caused by the movement of tectonic plates or volcanic activity. Strong earthquakes can cause severe damage to lives and property, while also triggering other disasters such as tsunamis or landslides. Alaska lies on the Pacific Ring of Fire, a region of intense seismic activity, where the ground never stops shaking. Between 2013 and 2018 alone, Alaska recorded around 150,000 earthquakes, including 31 with a magnitude of 6 or higher on the Richter scale. The strongest earthquake in Alaska's history occurred on March 27, 1964, with a magnitude of 9.2 on the Richter scale, making it the second most powerful earthquake ever recorded globally. The 4.5-minute-long earthquake triggered a series of landslides, ground collapses, and tsunamis, devastating many coastal communities. The Alaska terrain region contains multiple layers of permafrost, with the particularly hazardous phenomenon being ground liquefaction. When an earthquake occurs, the underlying ice layer suddenly melts, causing the soil and rock to lose their solid structure and liquefy, leading to the collapse of numerous buildings. In just a few minutes, houses, streets, or bridges can be reduced to ashes, making the aftermath utterly devastating. When even the ocean becomes your enemy, life is truly harsh. Alaska not only faces the risk of earthquakes but also a very high risk of tsunamis, especially when undersea earthquakes or coastal landslides occur. In the 1964 earthquake, a tsunami over 5 meters high flooded many coastal areas, completely devastating several small towns. Ghost towns in Alaska are not only caused by earthquakes but also formed by the phenomenon of ice sliding from cliffs along the coastline. If a massive iceberg or boulder falls into the sea, it can trigger a violent tsunami powerful enough to engulf coastal communities in an instant. When isolated and rescue efforts are limited, people are forced to find their own ways to survive. Natural disasters in Alaska are far more dangerous than in many other places, partly due to its isolated terrain and rescue systems often being unable to respond in time. Over 80% of Alaska's area lacks a connectivity system in the event of earthquakes, floods, or avalanches. The rescue operation took many hours, even days, to reach the affected area. Many small communities in Alaska are forced to fend for themselves to survive, as seeking outside help is nearly impossible. If a person is trapped in an avalanche or swept away by an ice flood, the chance of survival is nearly zero without timely rescue. Alaska, the untamed wildlands. Nature in Alaska constantly challenges humans with its harsh trials. From relentless snowstorms and sudden earthquakes to the threats of tsunamis, landslides, flash floods, and avalanches. The dangers posed by nature never cease to exist in this land. However, there are still courageous people who choose to stay, clinging to this land, finding ways to adapt and survive in the wild. But no matter how resilient humans may be, nature always retains its dominion, and Alaska remains one of the harshest lands on Earth.